Well, hello, everybody. Yeah, after the fiasco of today's live, I don't know what the heck that was. It was this animal zoo. That's all I can say. So, listen, this part three, this experiment three is important. So, I'm going to go back through this because no one heard it. You may have saw it on the screen, but yeah, so those of you who are listening, those of you who may experience the live show, we're going to get strictly into experiment number three. All right. The Albee Einstein principle. You too are a field of energy. Yes, indeed, we are. It's right underneath your fingers, baby. That's all you have to understand. Everything is right underneath your fingers. The incomparable Ray Charles. The premise. I'm not going to bore you with an entire text on quantum physics. I've read dozens, and believe me, they're not pretty. But there are a couple of rumors going around that must be quashed before we go any further. For starters, who do you think you are is not who you really are. You think you have a limited life, something like 70 or 80 years, and then you wrinkle up, get rheumatoid arthritis, and kneel over, and boom, baby, you're gone. Kaboom, it's over. But this isn't any more true than that dream you had last night. Your body is an imposter. It is a tiny fraction of who you really are. 99% of who you are is invisible and untouchable. Wow. This body that I think is Pam Grout, the skinny 5'10" woman with perpetual complexion problems, is just a speck of who I really am. No more the real me than those 2-month-old baby pictures where I'm wearing the embarrassing pink bonnet. Don't feel bad if you have fallen for the trap that you, your body, and the world around you is all that matters. It's not easy standing on the brink of a revolution. These new ideas that scientists are finally starting to take seriously are challenging everything we believe about how our world works and how we define ourselves. The whole truth and nothing but the truth, baby. Everything you know about the universe and its laws is more than likely 99.99% wrong. Fred Allen Wolf, PhD. What Einstein discovered and what that famous equation E equals mc squared means is that mass and energy are basically two forms of the same thing. Energy is liberated matter, and matter is energy waiting to happen. I love that. Energy is liberated matter. Wow. What a term. Liberation. Yeah. And matter is energy waiting to happen. I love that. It gives me constantly the affirmation that I am living the future, I'm already the past, and I am the present. There is a huge amount of energy, a preposterously huge amount, trapped in every living thing. You, making the assumption that you're an average-sized human being, contains no less than 7 times 10 to the 18th power joules of potential energy. And that's just a lot of zeros, any way you look at it. And it's energy. I mean, it's converted to electrical. That may not mean much to you now, but let's pretend you want to make a point. If you were a bit more cunning and knew how to liberate this energy, you could use it to explode yourself with the force of 30 very large hydrogen bombs. Boom. In other words, the material world is nothing but dense energy patterns. Scientists put all of these subatomic particles into a particle accelerator, collide them, and ultimately discovered there is no particle at the source. It's all just pure unbounded energy vibrating so fast that it defies measurement and observation. So, despite how it looks to the naked eye, you are energy. In fact, nothing in the world is actually solid. Not you, not this book, not the chair you're sitting on. Break the solid world down to its tiniest components, and you'll find dancing particles and empty space. It only looks solid because the energy is vibrating at a slower speed than the speed of light. That's what energy is. Vibrating particles. That means you, this book, and the chair are actually vibrating. Energy is a pretty nebulous thing. You can't see it, scratch it, or take it out to dinner. But you can, and do every day, influence how it flows through you. And since it's the building block of everything in the universe, that's a pretty powerful thing. Try this experiment that I learned from energy pioneer Donna Eden. Bring your palms together, all right, just like you're going to clap, and stop about 3 inches before you make contact. Now twist your wrist so your arms form an X. The wrist should be at the center of the X and still 3 inches apart. Draw your attention to the space between your wrist. You see, because your wrist contains several energy centers, all the energies will connect, and most likely you will feel some sensation in the area between them. Try moving your wrist about 1 inch closer and then out a few inches back and forth. You'll see. See what I tell you? Your energy. At each moment, you mold and shape this energy by your consciousness. You do so with every thought, every intention, every action. How do you feel? What do you think? What do you believe? What are your values? And how you live your life affects how the energy flows through you. To put it in simplest terms, this affects how you vibrate. And how you vibrate affects what you pull in from the interlocking, interbalancing, ever-moving energy field in which you swim. You pull out of this field and into your world anything that happens to be vibrating on the same frequency or wavelength. Let's say you're feeling excited, joy, grateful. Those emotions send out high frequency vibrations that magnetize more things to be excited, joyful, and grateful about. Anything with the same high frequency will prance all over your energy field, baby. However, if you're scared, guilt-ridden, and convinced there's a terrorist around every corner, you're sending out low-frequency vibrations that will attract ugly things into your life. We always attract our vibrational match. We are the initiators of the vibration and therefore the magnets or the cause. It works the same way as a tuning fork. Ding a tuning fork in a room filled with tuning forks that are calibrated to different pitches, and only the ones calibrated to the same frequency will ding too. And they'll ding all the way across the Minneapolis Metrodome. Like forces attract, it's a classic rule of physics. There is no you and them. Anyone who is not shocked by physics has not understood it. Niels Bohr, Danish physicist. As if you didn't already have enough weirdness to contend with, I'm going to throw in one more tiny detail. Everything in the physical world as we know it is connected to every other thing in the physical world. You are attached and engaged to one underlying universal energy field. The field, as Daddy Albie Einstein said, is the only reality. Things appear separate because they're vibrating at different wavelengths, just as the note C vibrates at a different wavelength than B flat. Each of these vibrations creates a strand in the electromagnetic field, which in turn instructs energy where to go and what to do. This pulsating energy field is the central engine of your being and your consciousness. Where is this field? Well, there's no place it's not. Everything in the universe is hooked up to the energy field. All life forms, whether African zebras or the hostas in your garden or those melting icebergs. Your intelligence, creativity, and imagination interact with this magnificent and complex energy field. We may look like separate bodies with separate ideas, but we are all just one big pulsating, vibrating field of consciousness. Anecdotal evidence. It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. Mark Twain. Edwene Gaines is one of my favorite Unity ministers. She's funny, she's wise, and she knows how spiritual principles work. She travels throughout the U.S. giving prosperity seminars in which she teaches people how to live more abundant, God-centered lives. But like the rest of us, Edwene had to learn about spiritual principles through trial and error. She tells a hilarious story about her first big demonstration, a demonstration according to eunuchs, is folks who hang out at Unity Church, is where you pull something you want or need out of thin air, more or less. Listen, the masters of the East in India can do that. At the time of Edwene's first demonstration, she was relatively new to spiritual principles. She was what you could politely call broke. As she says, I didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. But she heard this crazy rumor from her spiritual teacher that not only did God like her, but he wanted to open the gates of heaven and pour out his blessing if she simply learned how to direct her energy. But first, she had to know what she wanted and when she wanted it. That was easy. Within 15 minutes, Edwene filled a whole yellow legal pad with her desires: new green shoes, a new male partner, a new car, and so on. She decided also she wanted a week's vacation in Mexico City. She'd never been there, but she figured it would be a great place to practice her Spanish. Plus, she'd always wanted to see the Pyramid of the Sun, the Pyramid of the Moon, and the Diego Rivera's painting. Edwene didn't have any money for the trip, so writing it down was, as she put it, a bit of a joke. But she figured, what the heck? She even went down to the travel agent, looked at brochures, and made a tentative reservation 3 months in advance of the date she decided that she wanted to travel. I figured the worst that could happen is I'd embarrass myself in front of the travel agent when I wasn't able to pay. That's only because you don't feel rich, her teacher said. You're not vibrating as a rich person. Well, I could have told you that, Edwene replied. Have you had a look at my checking account lately? I'm having trouble paying my electric bill. That's why you need to go out and do something to make yourself feel rich, her teacher insisted. Edwene decided her biggest challenge was the grocery store. And folks, today, that is a challenge. I was one of those people who bought the bare minimum: beans, cornbread, flour, the basics. I didn't dare splurge on any of that foo-foo stuff. Nothing like bubble bath. I had a budget. So the next time she was at the grocery store, she decided to saunter over to the gourmet counter just for a guck. She noticed a bottle of olives stuffed with almonds. She took one look at that and she knew that was what rich people ate. So she bought it, took her groceries home, and called her friend Lana. Lana, I'm coming over. We're going to sit by your pool and we're going to get out your new crystal wine glasses and drink that bottle of wine you just bought. We're going to eat the olives I just splurged on, and we're going to pretend we are on exotic vacation in Mexico City." "Say what?" Lana said. She eventually agreed to play along, and sure enough, they sat by Lana's pool, drinking the wine, eating the olives, laughing, and pretending to be vacationing in Mexico City. "Well, darling, which pyramid should we visit today?" Edwin asked. "Or maybe you would rather go to the beach?" And then Lana would answer, "Let's do both." And after that, we would walk through the marketplace and listen to the mariachis. They had so much fun that Lana decided she wanted to go to Mexico City too. The next day, she went down to the same travel agency and made her reservations. Within a week, Lana's mom called her and said, "Hey, guess what? I'd like to pay for that ticket to Mexico City." And I was the one doing all the affirmation, Edwin now jokes. A few weeks later, the travel agent called Edwin and said, "Well, unless you come down and pay for this ticket now, we're going to have to let it go." "Okay, I'll be right there," Edwin said to the travel agent, even though she felt like an old Mother Hubbard with a completely bare cupboards. She got into her car and decided it was time. She had a severe talking to with God. Haven't we all? "God," she said, "now I've done everything I know how to do here. I've made my list. I've done my affirmations. I've been acting rich. The way I figure it, the rest is up to you. And big guy, since this travel agent is calling, I'm going to go ahead and go on down, and that money better be there." On the way to the travel agent, she got a hunch to stop by her mother's house. Now, I know myself well enough to know that I was probably thinking that if I told my mom about Lana's mom buying her ticket, maybe she'd agree to buy my ticket. She went into her mom's house, acted as sweet as she can be, and told her mom about this vacation she and Lana had cooked up. She finished her story, looked up her mom, and said, "And do you know what? Lana's mom even agreed to pay for Lana's ticket. Isn't that wonderful?" "Well, that is wonderful," Edwin's mom said. "What are you going to do?" Discouraged, Edwin concluded her visit and started to walk out the door when her mom asked if she'd be kind enough to run out and get her mail. Her mom's house had a long driveway, so Edwin walked out to the mailbox, kicking at stones and cursing under her breath. On the way back, Edwin decided to take a look, see through the mail, and she noticed a letter addressed to her. Now, understand, I haven't lived in my mom's house for 15 years and haven't received any mail there for 15 years. Edwin, not having a clue who this person on the return address was, ripped open the envelope. Lo and behold, there was a letter from an old roommate who had gotten married since she and Edwin had lived together 15 years earlier. At the time, they both were young, poor, and forced to decorate with what Edwin calls early Salvation Army. Not 3 months after they had moved in together, Edwin landed a job teaching overseas and left the roommate, the apartment, and the used furniture behind. Here's what the letter said. Dear Edwin, I was looking through the Houston phone book the other day and saw your parents' address. I wanted to tell you that I have gotten married and moved into a nice house with my husband. We furnished our house with new furniture, so I sold all that furniture we bought 15 years ago. Turns out, would you believe it, that some of it was pretty valuable. I didn't feel right keeping all the money since we had worked so hard to furnish that place. Please find a check for your half of the money. And do you know, says Edwin, it was the exact amount I needed to pay for my ticket to the penny, plus $100 for spending money. Edwin had also added a funny sequel to her story. Sure enough, Lana and Edwin had a marvelous time in Mexico City. They shopped, sat by the pool, visited the pyramids, and strolled through the markets. And everywhere we went, Lana got flowers. We'd be walking through the marketplace, and the mariachis would stop playing and bring Lana a gardenia. One day, we were on the bus. This guy jumps on, hands Lana a rose, jumps off. One night at supper, this big box arrived at our table. Lana opens it up. It's a dozen orchids. By this time, I'm starting to feel left out. I say to God, all right, look, buddy, I need a sign that I'm loved too. Not 15 minutes later, the waiter at the restaurant brought over hors d'oeuvres. And that God has such a sense of humor, Edwin laughs. Do you know what the waiter brought? Olives stuffed with almonds. The method. The Western scientific community, and actually all of us, are in a difficult spot because in order to maintain our current mode of being, we must ignore a tremendous amount of information. Cleve Baxter, plant researcher and former CIA agent. Even though this principle is one of the cornerstone spiritual principles, remember, spiritual just means the opposite of material. It actually first came to light, not in a church, but in a physics lab. Yes, it was scientists who first discovered that, despite all appearance to the contrary, human beings are not matter, but continually moving waves of energy. In this experiment, you're going to prove that your thoughts and feelings also create energy. Waves. Here's what you do. You get 2 wire coat hangers, easy to obtain in most any closet. Untwist the neck of each hanger until you've got just 2 straight wires. Now, I have a set of rods. These are copper. And folks, I did this experiment. First time I did it, my wife was there and she just could not get over it until she actually did it. And now you can see how I'm holding these. And you hold them just about 10 inches from you. They're good in here. And once they get connected to your flow, these are amazing, amazing instruments. And you can see, I'm just thinking positive energy, and there they go, man. They always, yeah. Now, if I was to start thinking negatively, you'd see them cross. But anyway, now, these are your Einstein wads. Or rather, they will be when you shape them into an L, about 12 inches long for the main part, 5 inches for the handle. You cut a plastic straw in half, slide the handle where you just bent inside the straws. It'll make your wand swing easier. And bend the bottom of your hangers as to hold the straws in place. Now pretend you're a double-fisted gunslinger, Matt Dillon from Gunsmoke, aging yourself if you remember that one, with the wands chest high. See? And about 10 inches from your body. And they'll flap around. You got to get them there where you can really get it. And, you know, they'll just until, you know, there you go. Like I said, you're an ongoing river of energy. So give them a few minutes to settle down. Once they've stopped flapping, you're ready to begin the experiment. With your eyes straight ahead, vividly recall some unpleasant event from your past. Depending on the intensity of your emotions, the wand will either stay straight ahead, weak intensity, or will point inward, tip to hip. The wands are following the electromagnetic bands around your body, which have contracted as a result of the negative energy generated by your unpleasant emotions. Now make your frequencies turn positive by thinking something loving or joyous. The wands will now expand outward as your energy field begins your positive energy flow. Okay, now keep your eyes straight ahead, but focus your attention. I can't do this and read at the same time. On an object to your far right or far left, and watch your wands follow your thoughts. The more you play with this, the more adept you'll become at feeling the vibrational shift as you change from one frequency to another. And folks, I can tell you, this works. We all got to practice this together. All right, so here's the lab sheet report. This is the Einstein principle. The theory is that you're a field of energy in an even bigger field of energy. The question is, can it be true that you can make up your energy? The hypothesis says that I am energy. I can direct my energy. Time required, 2 hours. It took me less than 5 minutes. So come on, folks. You put your date. The approach is, wahoo, baby. We're going to learn something. And as one president famously said, bring it on. I like this, what Lynn McTaggart says. To be a true explorer in science, to follow the unprejudiced lead of pure scientific inquiry, is to be unafraid to purpose the unthinkable and to prove friends, colleagues, and scientific paradigms wrong. Lynn McTaggart, author of The Field. Okay, so there we go. Now, if you don't have a set of these, get some, because we're going to practice as a group. For those who saw the live show today, the freak show, you know that I said in there, we need to come together with these folks. If we learn to how to control the energy, to transmute energy, when we do this individually and then do it together as a collective, this is going to be powerful, folks, just powerful. So, experiment number 3, experiment number 4 will be on Wednesday. All right, folks, thank you. Wanted to make sure we got experiment 3 on the archives no matter what. All right, we will talk to you soon. Bosto, and be of favor. In other words, you are empowered to prosper. You have the ability to bring everything you need into your life. Money, good job, promotion, early retirement. It's all there. You just have to do the reprogramming, and we are. That's why this whole 5G and all this 6G, they know they can influence. They've been feeding off of us, folks. We are waves of energy. We are energy beings, and they've been harvesting us. And it's time to stop the harvest. It's time for a little bit of payback, you know? Everything they've stolen from us, we want a 7-fold return. Every freaking micro wave. We want it all back. They stole from us. And there's a hell of a tab to be paid. All right, folks. We'll see you later. All right. Basto.